Hey guys, thank you for stopping by my channel to learn everything about Nikon Z 50mm f1.8 S lens, which I have here right in front of me, and we're gonna slightly compare and talk about its predecessor, the f-mount 50mm f1.8 lens. Now, this is a prime lens with an f1.8 widest aperture. This 50mm lens is between the popular 35 and the 85mm. Now, this lens I would say is closer to 35 rather than the 85 simply because where it's located on the line. Now, for many photographers, this is a go-to lens, also known as a nifty 50 due to its versatility, quality, and partially cost. Although the cost of this lens, which is nearly $600 US, it's significantly higher cost than the older f-mount 50mm lens, which is little cousin. Which hold that thought for a second, let me go through everything that I know and you'll be the judge whether this lens actually worth $600. By the way, it's roughly 3 times as expensive as its f-mount cousin 50mm 1.8 G lens, which goes for about $200. So let's get this out of the way and talk about the reason why Nikon named this one as a S lens. Now, it's basically S line for Z mirrorless lenses. It's supposed to reflect that this is a new design and stands to signify that the lens is superior, special, and sophisticated. So let me just leave it at that. Now, to Nikon's credit, I think they made a right choice by releasing their top quality S-line lenses to maintain respect and confidence of photographers, but also provide stability on the market of Nikon's fine performance lenses. Now, Nikon's lesser quality lenses are meant for DX format of Nikon Z series cameras. Now, this 50mm lens has a nano crystal coating, which is supposed to enhance optical quality and reduce ghost and flare effects. Now, something of a special importance is that this specific lens has almost none or minimum chromatic aberration at maximum aperture of 1.8. Obviously, as you step down to f2, f2.8, f4, the chromatic aberration completely goes away. Now, let's talk about some other facts of this lens. As I mentioned earlier, this lens goes for about $600. Now, during the holidays sales, you can grab this lens for probably about $100 off. Now, this lens has 12 elements in 9 groups. Now, autofocus on this lens is very fast and very quiet. Weight of this lens is about 14.6 ounces. Now, for my metric friends, it's about 415 grams. It's well balanced on Nikon Z6 and Z7 cameras. Filter size on this lens is 62mm, which is commonly found in many stores. Now, which is interesting, there is 11 electrical contacts. Now, f-mount lenses, like this one, have 8 electrical contacts in the back. Now, let's talk a little bit about the build quality. Majority of this lens is made of a high-grade composite plastic with metal elements around it. Now, there is a rubber gasket for better weather sealing to protect the lens in the back as well as the sensor itself. Now, outside of the lens, there's a wide and smooth focusing barrel, which is, by the way, great for video, much better than the f-mount 50mm G lens that I have right here. Now, as most lenses, there is a switch between autofocus and the manual focus function. The lens is made in Thailand, and from what I understand, much of Nikon's manufacturing now migrated to Thailand as well. Now let's talk about image quality for stills. The image quality for photos is absolutely beautiful and outstanding. Now, it is better than its predecessor, I would say, 50mm 1.8 G lens. Very frequently, many lenses are much softer on the outside, but this lens is very sharp from corner to corner. There is no complaining about its optical performance, even when the lens is wide open at 1.8. So maybe that's partially the reason why the lens is part of the S line, superior optical quality. While you know cameras that tend to lose value in the first 2 years, lenses like this one, I'm guessing, will maintain its retail value pretty high, and for a good reason. This lens is special, superior, sophisticated. Bokeh on this lens is nearly optically perfect as well. There is virtually no focus breathing on this lens from what I have observed. Now let's talk a little bit about video. If you use an f-mount lens with an FTZ adapter, such as this lens, which by the way works amazingly well on the Z mirrorless cameras for video, you will notice that there is here a constant focusing on the mechanical motor on the f-mount lenses, just like you hear right now. Now the S-line lenses, including this one, Nikon changed its design to a focus by wire, which is a stepping motor, and it's virtually quiet and you cannot hear anything. If you were even to mount an external microphone to the top of a camera such as Z6 or Z7, and with S-line lens like this one, 50mm, the camera won't even pick up the sound. That's how quiet the focusing motor on this lens is. What you don't see on the outside of this lens and may not know is that you can set the focusing barrel to control your aperture, exposure, compensation, and ISO. You would find this under the custom controls on the camera menu. For stills, it's under F2, and for video, it's under G2. Now, remember how I mentioned that the Z lenses have 11 electrical contacts on the lens and the back of a lens, as opposed to the F-mount that has only 8 electrical contacts? Well, now I'm wondering if these extra 3 electrical contacts were added to control the aperture, exposure compensation, and the ISO. Now, I could be wrong. It's just my engineering mind is trying to reason why they did this. Now, in addition to what I just talked about, you can set in what direction you want to rotate the focusing barrel for focusing. In clockwise or counterclockwise direction, it all depends on your previous experience with other lenses that you have and the way you might have used them. Now, all in all, this is a fantastic lens. The 50mm, it's not too wide and it's not too telephoto, and for the most part, it's nearly a perfect distance for majority of photographers, I would say. Now, many portrait and wedding photographers, as well as those who shoot in the studio, typically acquire this kind of lens because of its versatility, its compactness, and image quality. So, what boxes this lens checked? I would say portraits, product demos, video tutorials and interviews, some telephoto landscape work, and of course, weddings and events. This lens pairs very well with Nikon Z full-frame cameras, one of which I recently did a review on how to set up a Nikon Z6 II, and I will link that video in the corner up here for you to check out if you are interested. Now, this lens is not for sports and not for wildlife photography due to its limited range, how far it can reach. So, should you spend $600 and get this lens? Well, it's for you to decide. Now, here's what I can help you with. If you wait when this lens goes on sale, usually around the major holidays, the lens goes for about $500. And then if you own a 50mm lens like I do, f-mount, and you want to get rid of it and it's in good condition, you might be able to sell it for about $100 and use that money to put toward the Z lens. So that actually might bring it down to about $400, which I think is actually a very, very good purchase. I hope you found this video entertaining and educational, and it helped you to make a decision on whether this lens is for you. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts, experience, and opinion concerning this Nikkor Z 50mm 1.8 S lens. I have even heard that some stated that this might be the greatest 50mm lens ever made based on its price, performance, and image quality. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Go spread some love, take some photos, and speak life. I'm Vitaly with Touch Life Studio, and I will see you in another video.